like talk about like the transition of like, okay, now I'm a pro. Like now this is like a little higher. Like what kind of like were you thinking, and how did you carry yourself throughout that?
I think my transition from Miami to my pro, it was a weird transition because we just talked about the mindset I had going into that first Ami fight, and that was my mindset always. But the support system I had at the time, not necessarily personally, but in the gym, um, was really bad. So like in my eyes, if I lost, for me it was like, well, I lost. Yeah, your heart hurts, but you move on and you just get back in there. But that wasn't the case for me because again, I let people dictate what I how I did my career, and so it was a little weird because then I was like more hesitant. Then that fear and anxiety of like, I don't know if I'm ready, or I don't know if I'm good. I don't know. Like I took such a long period of time, and then the last time I fought, I lost. I didn't get to go back in there and um, put myself back in there and be like, all right, it was just like whatever. It was made into like a big deal of like, oh, you lost, so you have to take a year off.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh shit, like okay. So in my head, like again, oblivious, didn't know anything. I'm just learning as I'm going. And so it was like it was a weird transition and period for me to go through becoming pro. I didn't enjoy it. I can't tell you I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it. Um, and then it was even rough to do my debut because again, at the time they were asking me. My coach was telling me to go down to 105 because it was still too small for the 115 weight class. But I was also too big for the 105 weight class. I was in that in between. So it was really rough for me. Almost died doing a weight cut, doing the pro debut for a 105er. And so it was just like a lot of things happening all at once in that period.
Mhm.
But when I finally made my pro debut, it was cool. I mean, I won my first pro fight against a really tough opponent. Um, it's funny because we still follow each other.
That's dope.
We still keep tabs. I root for her from afar. Um, Super dope. So she was a tough opponent at the time. At the time, I think she was the number one girl in Texas. So it was super cool. So it was like an upset.
Yeah.
So it was super cool. But again, weird period because then again after that, another year off.
Dang. And that's a lot with this game too. I mean, the career of a combat sports, any professional is like the how much time you have. You know what I mean? So like
It's small.
yeah,
And people
like
don't realize that.
a layoff of a year is, kind of big twice, you know what I mean? And the fact that you're like, okay, you had a decent amateur career, you went in whatever you had going on with leading up, you won, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, fuck, I have to wait a whole other year to get going again. But once you started getting that stride and realizing, like, did you like how did was your mindset once you started like knowing that this is something that you wanted to pursue? Like, all right, cool. Now I know what I got to do. I know what I don't got to do. The people around me, talk about when did it start making more sense and the place you were at to keep pursuing this in a healthy way.
It took me a long time because then, I did my pro fight, my second pro fight, and they lost. And to be honest with you, um, that one was hard for me. I was going through a lot of stuff. I was previously married. I was going through divorce. Um, you know, a lot of chaos is happening around me, and everybody goes through their own things. Everyone's human. Like you're going through your own shit outside the gym. Life is hard. Um, but then to come into the gym and inside the gym, you're having to fight about you're having to fight to train. There's no trains happening. There's the support is very little. You don't have a team behind you that believes in you. It's kind of rough. And for me, it was like I felt like a lack of support or like this pressure from my coach at the time that my life had to be perfect in order to fight. I can't have problems. There was no problems that could be happening in my life. If there were, then I suffer the consequences through. Well, you can't fight.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let you fight. What before? But to me, I was just like, that's just my life. Like it's
Hmm.
been like that. Like even it's always been like that. And so for me, I'm just like, it was kind of like a standstill. So I had to make the choice. I moved to Arizona for a year. I had to figure it out. I was a correctional officer for a little bit. Um, I trained at Fight Ready over there, to get the understanding and feel of what these top teams are doing and to put myself out of my environment, what I'm used to. It was a huge change. I was there and I was going nowhere with it still because, again, I'm in a job that requires me to be there 80 hours a week. I'm trying to be consistent in the gym, at least showing up in the mornings every day.